Well, hey there, everyone. Thank you for joining me. I'm Cerise Fairfax, and I'm located in the north coast of the Dominican Republic in a province called Puerto Plata and in a municipality called Sosua in a little neighborhood called Los Cheramicos. That's where I live. I live where I love and I love where I live. Today is story time. And you're going to notice that I am doing story time more like a picture story time, like how I used to do it back in the old days. I'm going to be doing it like this for the next couple of weeks, I think, this week and next week. But I will make sure I keep you guys updated on the story time. It's just that I have a lot of projects that I'm working on right now, and I am a busy bee, but I'm enjoying it. And I know you guys love story time, so I gotta let the show go on. Today's story comes to me from a guy named Daryl. Oh, Daryl. And then the other players are going to be introduced as we go into the story. All right. So Daryl, he comes from a little town in Bethlehem. I'm joking, not Bethlehem. It just kind of sounded good for a moment. He comes from a little town in Arkansas. So he said to me that, he comes from such a small town that even if he said his name, or even if I said the town, people would know this story. So he's a little bit ashamed of himself. Anyway, that's all right. We all make mistakes in life. And I know you guys are going to be kind in the comments. But you know what? Comment away, because he said, Cerise, I know the people that listen to your channel, they are solid viewers and they're going to kick me in my butt and give me a good piece of advice. So he's actually looking forward to the constructive criticism. All right, let's get into Daryl. So Daryl, he comes from like a church town type of thing. He grew up in the church and he was in the choir. He was even a Sunday school teacher at one time in his life, kind of like myself. And then he decided that he was bored and he went to school. Actually, he went to university in New York. He studied in New York and he went to teachers college, is what he called it. His real name's not Daryl, by the way, guys. The story is always real and the names I always make fictitious, but he's still worried that he may get recognized by some of you guys that are regulars here. All right. So here he is. He goes to New York, he studies and he finishes university. He becomes a teacher and he loves it. And then he decides, when the world closed down, that he is going to teach abroad. He decided he was going to teach online and he was going to start working on the internet, solely on the internet. He got himself a few teaching jobs and he decided to travel the world. And the first spot that he came to was right here in Sosua, like many people do. And this has been his last stop as well. He hasn't traveled since, and I'm sure you could imagine why. Okay, so he gets here and he decides that, he's going to start teaching children English. So he goes to the local schools and he lets them know that he's a teacher and he shows his credentials and he is being welcomed by the Dominican teachers. They're like, wow, that's great. You can tutor some of the kids. You just have to ask their parents. And one of the parents what are we going to name her? Let's name her Azulia. Azul means blue in Spanish, in English, but Azulia kind of gives it a little bit of a female flavor. So we'll name her Azulia. And so this mother, she was a single mom. She was also a church-going mother, and she had a job, a really good job, working with the government. Yes. Now, when he met her, he was like, wow, she's beautiful, just like the beautiful Dominican women. My gosh, gorgeous. And when I saw a picture of her, I was like, what? You messed up with her? How could you? She's like the perfect formula. Anyway, so she Azulia, she had her child at a very young age, but she changed her life. She went to school. She helps out her mom. She helps out her dad. She comes from a family where her mom and her dad are very close knit and tight. Her dad has a government job. Her mom has a government job. And so that's how she got her government job after she went to school. Her grandmother took care of her child while she was attending school. So Azulia, she decides that, she's just going to stay single for a while. She got her job in the government sector. She's doing very well. And her parents actually own a lot of land all over Santo Domingo, all over Santiago, and also a couple of places here in Sosua. Just land, but she was here. She moved here because she's working for a part of the government sector in Puerto Plata. That's the farthest I can go with what she does. Now, here she is. She's living her life. She's really happy. And I know you guys can tell she already sounds like a good catch, right? Now, I know these stories, these Chica stories are always, they seem like negative against the woman. But no, there are some really good women here in the Dominican Republic. And I even wrote a book about them. And for those of you who are listening, listen to the end because I have a surprise for you. So here she is, she's working, and she's living in Sosua because she wanted to live by the beach and she can afford it. She's one of those Dominicans that can afford to live in Sosua, the municipality, not the tourist area. Sosua is a municipality, remember? So she lives up somewhere where Dominicans live and not where the tourists are. But now she meets this guy, Daryl, from the school, right? Because he's teaching her son English. Daryl says to the mom, like, well, if you teach me better Spanish, I will teach your son English even on weekends. Like, I can come to your home and I can provide one-on-one lessons with him. And she thought that was amazing. After about a month, she really started to like Daryl. He's funny, he's humble, he's like a small town guy and just down to earth. And so she invited him to her church and he went. Now, after about 2 months, she decided that, okay, this might be a guy that is worth talking to. So she started to ask him more questions about himself. Is he married? Does he have children? And these are questions that she would never really ask anybody because Azulia, she's a very private woman and she just feels like asking people questions before they offer the information is a little going overboard. But she felt comfortable enough with Daryl. And Daryl was like, oh, well, no, actually, I'm single. I've never had kids. I want to get married one day. I'm looking for a good woman. Now, Daryl, on the other hand, is a gentleman. He did not want to indulge too much in her private life either. And so when she asked those questions, of course, he asked them back. Are you dating anyone? Where's the father? And she explained everything and he was like, wow. And then when she got into the information about her life and her family and how prominent they are, he was blown away. He said to her, you know what? I must admit, I thought for sure maybe you were one of those chicas that was getting money from a guy because of the house that you live in and because of the car that you drive. I thought for sure that, maybe a gringo was taking care of you. And she was like, no, not at all. And as a matter of fact, guys, side note, I'm going to start Gringo Chronicles because this Chica Chronicles is really great. But I need to start Gringo Chronicles. And that is this is my first Gringo Chronicle. Okay. Because some gringos come here and they act up and miss out. All right. So she's like, no, I have a professional job. I work for the government. I do very well for myself, and I have a lot of investments. And I even go back and forth to the United States sometimes with my job. I've traveled a lot around the world. And again, he was blown away. He was like, I've never heard of a chica like you before. And she's like, well, I'm a woman. You can call me a mujer, like a señorita. Don't call me a chica. And he was like, oh, okay. So he said, can I take you out sometime to dinner? Like, can you get a babysitter for your son? And maybe you and I can go out for dinner and like just really get to know each other a little bit more. And she said, yeah. She was like, Daryl, I usually don't say yes to men. I have a lot of men that ask me to go out all over the world when I travel. She said, but I really just focus on my son and making sure that he is growing well. And she was trying to tell him that he's special. She was trying to let him know from the deepest part of her that this is something she doesn't usually do. So she said, yes, you can take me out for dinner. They went out for dinner and he treated her so well. He took her to Puerto Plata and he took her to the movies. There's a movie theater there, and he took her to McDonald's because, he thought it would be funny to kind of do like an American kind of date. And then after McDonald's, he took her for drinks on the Malecon and they had a really good time. The next time they went for dinner, they went out to a very elegant restaurant. The next time they went out, they went on a trip to Santiago to visit her family. And he again was blown away by the extravagance, the luxury, just the upscale type of lifestyle that this Dominican family was living. And he was like, wow, this is like something that he doesn't ever hear on YouTube, something that he doesn't ever hear with the vloggers, something that he's never witnessed ever before. And he said to me, Cerise, the family was just so eloquent. The family was just so intelligent. He said that he could talk to them about literature. He could talk to them. And if you notice, I'm talking in past tense. So just hold on because the drama is coming. He said he could talk to them about vacations and all being around the world. He said like everyone in the family was into literature, which was really important to him because he was into literature as well. He loved reading books, and he said he hit the jackpot. And he said he felt like it was the opposite of what he hears. And it was about 4 months into their relationship. And he thought to himself, wow, this is going so well. But now here comes the but. Aulia and her son had to leave the country. You see, Azulia's son, his dad is German. When she got pregnant at a young age, it was not with a Dominican. It was with a German man. And once a year, they go down, the son goes to Germany to visit his dad in Germany for the summer vacation. But the dad refuses to come here to pick up the son because, it's a long trip and the dad's a little bit older than Aulia, and the dad, he just doesn't like flying. Now, Aulia, she loves Germany. So she takes her son to Germany to drop him off for the holidays. She stays a week there herself, maybe 2 weeks, and then she comes back here. And then at the end of the summer, she goes back and picks up her son and stays about a week. Now, when she went to Germany, her phone got lost in the airport. Now, when she was in Germany, Daryl thought that she just blocked him. When her phone got lost in the airport, obviously somebody just took the phone and, took out the SIM card and just took the phone and made it their own phone. So she didn't have a phone. She didn't have his phone number either. And so when she got to Germany, she was frazzled, and it was a long flight. And so for the first day, she just slept, and she didn't worry about her cell phone. She was safe, her son was safe, and she emailed her parents to tell her parents that she arrived and that she lost her cell phone, but everything's all right. Now she did have Daryl's email address, but Daryl was not using that email address all the time. The email address that she had for Daryl was one of them that he would use for business purposes only. The email address that he always used was the one that he would use for Bumble and for online dating and stuff of this nature. So, of course, he wasn't checking that other email address. So, it was an entire week that she didn't get to talk to him because he didn't check that email address. He didn't think to check that email address because he forgot that that's the email address that he gave her. He didn't want to give her the email address that he uses for like dating and stuff like that because it was not a professional one. And the reason why he gave her the email address to begin with was because they were sending each other information back and forth about work and stuff of that nature, like, files that she was sending him to help him speak Spanish and stuff like that. It was mainly business in the beginning. Okay, so now during that week, when he didn't hear from her, he decided that he was going to go out and bate and go hang around his buddies. The second day he didn't hear from her, he thought to himself, oh, she's in Germany. She's with her baby daddy. And he tried to message her, but he couldn't because her WhatsApp wasn't working. And he was like, what? And it was only going on one check mark. Because whoever took her cell phone obviously took her chip out and everything. And, so her WhatsApp was still active, but she needed a new SIM card to make it active again, if you know how that works. So the messages will still go through, but it's not going to go to a double check mark. So he's like, oh, so she just, forgot about him and she's with her baby daddy, but she doesn't even love her baby daddy. So now Daryl decides that he is going to just, go and have his fun too. He's going to go enjoy life and he's going to go sow his wild oats, what he should have been doing in the first place when he came here to Sosua. This is what he said to me. He said, Cerise, my mind went crazy because here I'm thinking she went back to see her baby daddy and she's hitting it off with him and she lied and that she blah, blah, blah. And, I even said to him, I'm like, Daryl, like, why didn't you think to yourself, like, call her parents? Go to her parents. Like, why didn't you think, like, why do you automatically think the worst? And he said, because I was considering her like any other chica. And I said, but no, there's a lot of beautiful Dominican women here, and they're not all like the girls on Pedro Clasante. I said, what would you have done if this happened in America? In the United States? And he said, well, I probably would have waited. And wildly means this. By the end of the week, he had a chica staying with him. You see, it's very easy to get caught up with these girls. Once you get in your head that this girl is loving you and you're loving her and you're going out and you're enjoying life. He said to me, she was fun. He said to me that Aulia is fun, but she's very professional and she's not exciting. And he said this girl was exciting. She was fun. And he thought to himself, at least it's just a little break from the mundane kind of monotony. And he said his friends were like, you know what? Have your fun. If she's not messaging you, then you have your fun too. Don't just sit around and wait for her and, like a bump on a lump or like a log. What is that little saying? A bump on a log?
Let me know in the comments.
So he decides that he's going to take this girl home with him, and he's home with the girl, and The girl, she's in his house, and he left her in the house for a moment because they ran out of cerveza. And he said to her, "Okay, I'll be right back." Don't ever do that. Don't ever leave a chica in your house while you go somewhere, because when you get back there, whatever you thought was hidden very well is most likely going to be taken. So he gets back to his apartment and he's chilling with her and, cool max and relaxing. And then the next day she leaves. When she leaves with something that belongs to Azulia. Now, before Azulia left, she slept at Daryl's place. And this is something she also didn't do very much. When she slept at Daryl's place, she forgot a locket there, a locket that she wears all the time. And it's something that her great grandfather gave her. And it's something that he found in the sea. And it was real gold and it was ancient. And he found that when he was just a little boy. And he gave that to Aulia. I hope your jaws are dropped right now because that is irreplaceable. Daryl, so now what happened was Daryl didn't even realize it was missing. Aulia gets back. When Aulia gets back, the first thing she does is she buys a brand new cell phone and she contacts Daryl. She didn't even sleep. She just got off the plane and she got in town. She went straight to the cellular phone store, got herself a cellular phone. She went and she got herself a chip, and boom, she contacted him right away and she explained to him. She's like, "Oh my gosh, Daryl, my phone." She's like, "I emailed you. How come you didn't check your email?" And he's like, "You emailed me?" She's like, "Yeah, I emailed you to let you know like what was happening." And he's like, "Oh," and then he felt bad, but he, just decided that he was going to just sweep that girl, the Chica, under the rug. Now, Azulia said to him, "You know what? I really missed you. And I would love to come by your place and, just relax with you. I left my locket there anyway. I missed it the whole 7 days I was gone. I just want to come and get my locket and relax with you." And he was like, "Yeah, come over." He was so excited. And she went over to his place and she looked for her locket where she left it. And she's like, "My locket's not here." And he's like, "Yes, it is." And she's like, "No, it's not." And he opened up the drawer. He's like, "Yes, it is. It's right here because I saw it. When you left, I realized that it was here." And she's like, "No, it's not." And he dug through the drawer and it wasn't there. And he kept digging through the drawers and she looked at him and she said, "You had a chica here, didn't you?" And he looked at her. He said, "What? What are you talking about?" And she said, "You're lying. You had a chica here. She stole from you. She took my locket." And he's like, "No, I must have misplaced it." She said to him, "No, I know that you are lying. I spent enough time with you to know that you are very meticulous and you don't miss a thing. You had a woman here. First, you had a woman in your bed when I was gone, something I never thought you would ever do. Second, you left her in the apartment alone, or you fell asleep with her and she spent the night and rummaged through your stuff." And he didn't know what to say. And he admitted it. Bible thumping boy from back in that small town, he didn't know how to lie. And he said to her, "You're right. And I apologize, but I don't know how to make it up to you. Where can I buy you a new one? That's the only thing I can think of." And then when he found out that it was something that her grandfather gave her from the sea that he found when he was a boy, and it was an ancient piece of gold, whoa, he didn't know what to say. He got so angry that he went out to look for that chica. Now, first, Azulia, she left crying, obviously, because she's tired from her flight. The first thing she wanted to do was just be in her man's arms, the man that she thought she can trust and hold and love, the man that she thought was so different and wasn't into the chicas because he told her all day, every day, 24/7, that he wasn't into those chicas. That's all he used to say. And so she really believed him. And so she took off crying, and it was a heartbreak for him. And then afterwards, he went out on the town and he went looking for that chica. Up and down. He was on a mission. And even his friends were on the lookout for her. They were driving around, they were looking for her. And you know what? They found her. And when they found her, he grabbed her up by her arm and he wanted to just tear her arm right off. And he didn't care if he was going to be going to jail. And she said to him, "Leave me alone," because she obviously knew that he found out about the locket. And he said, "Where's the locket?" He said, "Listen, I'll give you money for it. Any money you want, I will give you the money for it. I just want the locket. I'm not mad at you. I just need the locket." And she said, "I don't have it." And he said, "Well, where is it? Just tell me where it is." He said, "Listen, I'll give you $100 right now." And she said, "That's not enough." And he said, "I will give you $500 right now." And she's like, "Oh, 500, it must be worth a lot of money." And he's like, "It's not. It's just, it didn't belong to me. It belonged to my girlfriend." And she's like, "Oh, well, then it's worth a lot more." She said, "You give me $1,000 and I will get you the locket." And he's like, "What?" And so he's like, all right. He said, "You got to get me the locket first." So she said, all right. Now it was nighttime at that time when he found her. And she told him that she pawned it. She had pawned it in a pawn shop in Los Charamicos, right here where I live. He told her, he said, "You're not leaving me. You're staying with me. You're staying with me all night. You're coming back to my place tonight." And she said, "You have to pay me." And he said, I'm not going to have intimacy with you. I don't want that with you, but I'm going to make sure that you're coming back and you're staying with me for the whole night, because in the morning, we're going back to that pawn shop and we're going to get that piece of jewelry back. Because if you pawned it, then that means you have a pawn ticket for it, right? And she said, "No, I have my cedula."
A cedula is her birth certificate.
And he said, all right. So the pawn shops, for those of you who don't know, you pawn it. You of course, most people do know what a pawn is, but what you do is you pawn it, you get money, and then you can go back for it later. So she didn't actually sell it. Thank God, right? Okay, so now Daryl's thinking God's working on his side. He's like, "Oh my gosh, this is so great." So he has her and he takes her back to his place, and he gives her $200 to stay with him for the night. And then the morning comes, and as they are leaving the apartment, boom, Aulia. Aulia had a change of heart, because Aulia thought, and this is what Aulia said to me, she thought that, you know what? She can see that Daryl would assume that she was with her baby daddy in Germany, and that, she didn't contact him. And here he is 7 days without her. Of course, he's going to go and be with a woman. And of course, he's such a nice guy and he's so green that he didn't know the rules of the chicas that well, so she decided that he was worth forgiving. But when he came out of his apartment building with that chica and Aulia saw him, Aulia said, "Oh my gosh," she didn't know what to do. She was so angry, very angry, and she just walked away. He's like, "Aulia, wait, this is the chica. This is the chica that took your locket. Like, we're going to go get it right now." And Aulia, she wasn't hearing it. So she just jumped in her car and she drove away. Now, when the chica saw who his girlfriend was, the chica knows who that girl is. The chica knows that that girl works with the government. And the chica knows that that girl also comes from a very wealthy family. So now the chica is putting up the stakes, and the chica says, "You know what? I want 1,000 from her and 1,000 from you, because that locket is very old and that's your girlfriend. You got to pay me good, because if it was a different Chica, she would have sold it. You got to be thanking your lucky stars that I didn't sell it. Something inside of me told me don't sell it. Something inside of me told me just pawn it, because I felt like maybe it was worth something. So you got to pay me a lot more. And he said, come on, I just need to take you. I just need to see that the locket is still there. So they came here to Los Cheramicos and they went into the pawn shop. Now, this is where Daryl met me. I live just down the street from the pawn shop. Now, here I am. I'm walking by the pawn shop, and I walk these streets. I live in this town. People see me all the time. And he looks at me and he's like, Cerise? And I'm like, yeah, what's up? And he's like, I watch all your videos. He's like, man. And he was standing outside of the pawn shop. She went in. He's standing outside of the pawn shop and he's like, I watch all your videos. He's like, man, I got a story for you. I'm in the middle of the story time right now. I need your help. And I'm like, what do you need my help with? And I was really concerned because he had tears in his eyes. And he said that the girl is in there and she's running game on him. And he's like, I just need help right now. If you can help me with this Chica right now, he's like, I'll pay you. And I'm like, no, man, you don't got to pay me. Just tell me. He's like, and he told me quickly, he's like, the Chica inside, she took a piece of jewelry. It was of his girlfriend, his Dominican girlfriend, blah, blah, blah. He ran it down within like a few minutes.
So I said to him, why didn't you just call the police last night while she was sleeping? He said he was afraid that she would deny it and not go to the pawn shop.
And then so I said, you know what? Let me just talk to her when she comes out. And he's like, she wants to charge more money. And I said, just let me talk to her when she comes out. And she came out of the pawn shop and she looked at me and she's like, and I seen the Chica around before. And I looked at her and I'm like, hi. And she's like, hi. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what a bad situation this is. And she's like, I know. And he's stupid. And I was like, no, he's not stupid. I said, I think he trusted you. And I think that's beautiful for you to be trusted, And she looked at me and she's like, yeah, but something told me don't sell it. So now he has to pay me for it. And I said, yeah, I said, how much are you going to charge him for it? And she's like, well, I said 1,000, but now I'm thinking 3,000 because, it's worth a lot of money. And she showed me it. This locket was like, it looked like it tumbled on the bottom of the sea for so many years. It was like dented and like the gold itself was really thick, and the gold itself just on the outside, it wasn't like a shiny locket of like how you would look at it. It just looked like it was like bitten and hit probably by a lot of different fish and everything, maybe even sharks. Gosh, I looked at her and I'm like, oh. And I looked at him and I'm like, just buy your girlfriend a new one. And the girl looked at me, the Chica looked at me, and the Chica's like, but he can't get it. And I said, look at it. It's all beat up. You can't even get that fixed if you wanted to. And I said, just, but I already knew the story, right? Like, keep in mind, he already told me that it was something that was very important to his girlfriend. So he's looking at me and I'm looking at him playing dumb. And then he caught on. And I'm like, Daryl, go buy a new one. Just tell your girlfriend that she's worth something new and let this Chica have that, And the Chica's like, no, this is old. I don't need this. And I said, no, but seriously, like, you something told you to pawn it and not sell it. So that means maybe you're meant to have it. And she's like, no, I don't want this. I don't want it. I want money for it. And I was like, no, and I'm like, 1,000? 2,000, 3,000? Come on now. Who's going to give that money? No one here is going to give that money for that. And I said, and don't you know, if you know that, because she mentioned, she's like, that girl, his girlfriend works for the government, right? And I said, and don't you know, any girl that works for the government, she'd rather a brand new piece of jewelry because she's going to want to wear something that's more elegant. Well, this Chica was like, oh, no, 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 here, no. He said he's going to buy it from me. He said he's going to buy it from me. Here, give me 500. Give me 500. And he's like, no, you know what? Actually, how much did they give you in the pawn shop for it? And she said, they only gave her $30 for it in the pawn shop when she pawned it. They only gave her $30 because they didn't even know the quality of it, the reality of what it was worth. They only weighed it, right? And they gave her $30 for it, but it was worth way more than $30 in weight as well, because they're not going to give her the full amount. They're hoping a pawn shop gives like a very much less than what it's worth, because what they're hoping is the person is just going to forget it, and the pawn shop, especially a Chica, and then, before they know it, the pawn shop is keeping it, right? So in any case, then Daryl's like, if they gave you 30 for it, I don't know if it's only worth 30. And she's like, no, 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 that's not how it works. They give less. They give less. It's worth more. And he's like, okay, I'll just give you $100. And she's like, no, no, she's like, okay, just give me 200. And he's like, I don't know. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to go now. And he's like, well, Cerise, wait, tell me where there's a jewelry store. And he starts following behind me, and the Chica's like, okay, here, take it for 30. And he looked at her and he's like, here. He gave her $100. And that was it. And we started to walk down the street together, and he was crying. The tears were falling down his eyes. At first, I thought he was sweating because he's a tall guy, little heavy, and it was a real hot day. And at first I thought the guy was sweating and it was going down his face. But then I looked at him again and I saw the tears just rolling down his eyes. And he's like, Cerise, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. You're like an angel. You just showed up at the right time. He's like, wow, man. And I'm like, listen, you learned a lesson. And he's like, can you please talk to my girlfriend for me? I'm like, I don't know about that, because what you did was a little off the wall. You could have waited a week. And he's like, I know. So I said, sure, why not? I'll speak to your girlfriend. So he put his girlfriend on the phone, Aulia. And the reason why I'm calling her Aulia as well is because we met in a restaurant right here in Chetamicos. The restaurant's called Azul, and it is overlooking Sosua Beach. So we met at the Azul restaurant, and we sat down and we talked. She took that locket into her hands like it was food and she hadn't eaten in a million years. She was so happy to see it. She was so thankful, and we told her how we got it back, and she was just so grateful. And she said to Daryl, Daryl, thank you. Thank you for getting the locket back, because some guys wouldn't even do that. And he explained to her that when they were leaving the apartment building the next morning, he didn't sleep with the Chica that night. He was only keeping the Chica pretty much hostage so the Chica wouldn't escape. And she said, I understand that. She said, I do, but there's something tainted about you now. There's something that tells me that you are weak, and when the chips are down, you don't know how to play the game right. She said, 1 week I was gone. And if my love meant anything to you at all, you should have waited until I got back. You didn't know if maybe I had no service in Germany. You didn't know anything. And the first thing you assume is that I was sleeping with my baby daddy. She's like, the first thing you assume is that I was sleeping with my son's father. She's like, it makes me think about where your brain is, because even if I was sleeping with him, why wouldn't I still message you in 7 days? Why wouldn't I still contact you? And he's like, well, you were staying in his house and everything. And I'm like, Daryl, be quiet. In my head, I didn't say that out loud, but in my head, I'm like, Daryl, be quiet. Because Daryl's like, well, you were sleeping at his house and you told me that you're sleeping in his guest house. And I really didn't know what to think. And, she's like, that doesn't matter. You're supposed to trust me. You're supposed to know that I'm a dignified woman. And she said, I can't trust you. So I'm sorry. She said, thank you. I'm so happy that you got my locket back. I'm so happy. She said, but we can be friends. I can still teach you Spanish, and I would still love you to continue to teach my son English, and I can be your friend. But I'm glad that the relationship is still so new that we can not worry about hurting each other. Well, Daryl started crying again right at the table. He has such a big heart. He started to cry again at the table, and he's like, but you got the locket back. And she's like, yes, but I also told my family. I told my family that the locket was gone because I never thought for the life of me that I would ever get this locket back since a Chica took it. And he's like, well, why would you tell your mom and your dad like something so negative? And she said, because I knew I was finished with you. And she told him, I'm glad I got my locket, but again, we can be friends. And so it's been 8 long months, and the two of them are still friends. I saw them just the other day. I saw them, they were going down on Route 5. They were driving, and she was driving her car, and she honked the horn, and they both yelled out the window, and they're like, Cerise. And I'm like, hey guys. And I'm like, are you back together? And he shook his head no. And she just gave me a side look like, she kind of gave me a look like, not yet, kind of gave me a look like, I'm still weighing the odds, She kind of gave me that little look. So I think that they will get back together in the future. But yeah, Daryl wanted me to tell you this story because he says that he feels like such an idiot. He feels like he lost something so sacred, so beautiful. And at the end of the day, he didn't lose her, but I guess he did lose her respect for now. Tell me what you guys think about this story. Make sure in the comments below you put your comments to Daryl, because he said he's looking for your constructive criticism. And he said he loves when you guys get raw because he loves that you guys teach other people who are watching these videos. Now, guys, remember, I do help guys not find a good woman. I can't help you find a good woman because I don't do matchmaking. But if you have a woman and you're having issues with her and she's a good woman, give me a shout. We can do a consultation and we can talk about things, to help you understand the culture a little bit more. In this book that I wrote right here called How to Win the Heart of a Dominican Woman, it is a book that helps you find a good Dominican woman, a real good Dominican woman like Aulia, a good Dominican woman that is working, has a great job. And so you understand the culture a lot more. And you don't think that every woman is a Chica. So if you have any questions, let me know. Now, those of you who stayed till the very end, I want to give you this book away for free. It is a PDF and you can download it. All you have to do is put below in the comments, my book, and I will get the book over to you. It has 30 story times at the end of the book. And throughout the book, it talks about the culture, it talks about the food, it talks about the roles of the females and the males, it talks about special occasions, and it also talks about how you can understand a Dominican woman and how you can know if you're being used or if you are being appreciated. Thank you so much, everyone. If you are looking for an apartment, or if you're looking for land, I also help people do that. If you're looking to relocate, give me a shout and we can do a consultation. Once again, my name is Cerise Fairfax and I'm so happy to have you here. Please go ahead, hit that thumbs up button because it lets me know that you enjoyed this video, and it also lets me know that you are going to be back with me next week. Go ahead and subscribe. Thank you so much. Have yourself an amazing day. Huge hugs, loads of love, and big blessings.
And one more thing, don't forget, on the screen, you can click one video that will take you to story time from last week, or you can hit the other video and it will take you to my playlist where you can find hundreds of story times. Have an amazing day.